Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm your host, Brittany Baker, and this is Tech Me As I Am, the podcast bringing self-love to corporate America. And the only thing that we care about is you bringing your authentic self. So let's keep it real, let's be different, and let's get courageous, y'all. Awesome. Today, we have an amazing episode that we're going to be talking about when it comes to redefining what professionalism is. We have an amazing guest, Pabel Martinez, who is here to talk to us about that and talk about some of the things that he's gone through. So Pabel is a founder and CEO of Plurawl, a native New Yorker storyteller, and a former tech executive. Throughout his career, he has struggled in balancing two different jobs, being an actor, doing different things, and assimilating to societal norms. And so he's pushed past the status quo, is doing things different, and redefining what professionalism is. So Pabel, we're really happy to have you here, and really want to talk to you a little bit more about your story and how you've been able to redefine what professionalism really is and what it means to you. So thank you.
I'm excited to be here. A lot of dope things we could talk about.
Yes. And so what I want to first start off in doing is talking a little bit about your journey and what got you here and doing Plural and what that means to you.
For sure. I mean, I think I could start off like many of us at home. It's funny, whenever we talk about assimilation and code switching, we think it starts when we start working, but I think it starts at home with our families because they often pass down the survival tactics that they use to often stay alive. My family grew up in the Dominican Republic, and it was under the dictatorship of Rafael Trujillo. So this idea of standing out or speaking up against the government, which was the authoritative figure, was seen as dangerous. So it's no surprise that they tell us to keep our heads down, focus on work, and do all these things. And I remember very vividly my grandfather telling me, like, do you see presidents and CEOs rocking do-rags and earrings and tattoos and beards? Like, no, act and dress accordingly, right? So I think our assimilation journey often starts with the idea of appearance. But for me, it went so deep that I legit started studying white popular American culture just to be able to fit in and feel accepted. So we could definitely get into it, but I think it's important to note that this journey often starts at home.
Absolutely, it does. I mean, it's about who we are and how we bring ourselves to work. And I feel like when people talk about like, hey, when you walk through that door, like turn this, like the switch has to come on of like
Mhm.
work-life balance. I'm me at home, my personal life, but then when I walk in here, it shuts off and I'm this thing, this professional thing. And it's like, damn, I'm the same person I was before I walked in that I am at work. Like, what is that about? You know what I mean? And it's very off-putting because like you said, we're bringing these things in from the ways that we were raised, the playground, the parents, the experiences that we've had. And then it's like, hey, shut that off, come in here, put a face on and act like you're perfectly fine and act like this, whatever it is you're portraying is professional. And it's like, maybe I might have lost a parent. Maybe I might be dealing with stuff with kids. Maybe I lost a job and I'm feeling imposter syndrome, whatever that is. Like these emotions are still carried with you when you walk into the workplace. So why do we have to act like things don't exist? Um, when you
Yeah.
said you were studying a little bit about like assimilating, right? Could you talk to us more about like what you had to go through to do that?
I mean, we all just want to fit in at the end of the day, whether we're kids or whether we're grown adults in the workplace. And oftentimes, Black Latinos, we're a very small population of this employee base. So if you're looking around and you're like having lunch with your coworkers or just like sitting at your desk and they're talking about shows that you don't watch, that means you can't join in on conversations. And that's the same at some level. Like, we all have the same Excel skills, we all have the same PowerPoint skills, whatever it is. So the way that you really advance in corporate is through building relationships. All right, well, me talking about insecure is not gonna get me into relationships and get me into conversation. So I would literally binge watch. I would dedicate days out of my week to binge watch shows like Riverdale just to be able to join in on conversations. And here's an important point, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with expanding your preferences because white people put me on to a lot of stuff that I love. Brussels sprouts, love Brussels sprouts. Friends, I don't love. Seinfeld, I do love.
Friends.
Riverdale, I don't love it, but I did it just to be able to feel accepted, and that's where it becomes a problem. Like, you try something, you don't like it, and you do it solely for the purpose of you think it's gonna make a difference. And beyond, and to be honest, it really didn't make a difference.
You know, what you said stood out because like the way that I was raised, even I was raised in a predominantly white neighborhood, so I was called the Oreo. Like, you're not black
Oh,
enough, you know, and
mhm.
like I was like, okay, you know, at a school with all predominantly white kids, like, okay, how do I fit in? Let me make sure I'm listening to Britney Spears and NSYNC, which I'm a huge fan. Like, I actually liked them, but I was like, let me be intentional about like what I'm listening to so I could fit in and have, like you said, those conversations. And what do you think if you're doing these things as kids, do you think we're going to be doing as adults? The same thing, you know? It's kind of, there's a lot of parallels with school and work. And like, how do we go in and feel accepted and included and feeling like we belong? And so
Yeah,
I appreciate you talking about that. Um talk to us
it's
a little
like
bit
that
about
high
like
school
in
lunch
terms of
table awkward scenario, but money's on the line.
Mm. I said, girl. I almost called you girl.
Girl.
I said, girl. Let me tell you. No, honestly, it's the same analogy. Like, I give this analogy at work too. It's like when I went back into the office after like the pandemic, it was like walking in the cafeteria area and you're like, I don't know anyone. Where do I sit? Who do I make friends with? It's gonna be awkward. People are already clicked up. These are feelings people already feel. And it's like, okay, when we're thinking about feeling accepted and wanted and diversity, inclusion, and belonging, professionalism is tied into all of that because professionalism is like, this is how you see me. You know, can you
and
accept me?
and it's the and it makes no sense to me because at a place like when I was working at Facebook, one of their values is focus on impact, right? So when I see that, it's like, oh, focus on the numbers. Like, as long as you're doing your job, you good. And it's this whole idea of like, dress however you want, work from wherever you want. Like, as long as you focus on the impact, you'll be fine, right? I'll give you a perfect example of how that's bullshit. I like Facebook has this like dope working area where I never worked at my desk. Why would I? They got the whole office looks like a West Elm store. Like, all
Mm,
these nice couches with the art in the background, work from the cafeteria, work from the library. They got quiet spaces, right? So at one point, my coworkers they labeled me unfriendly and unapproachable because I didn't work at my desk. And then I had a meeting with my manager. I'm like, how's my performance? And it was like, oh, it's good, but like, I think you should be friendlier with your coworkers. I thought I should be focusing on impact. Like, being best friends isn't a value, but focus on impact is, right?
right.
So
Right.
this idea of professionalism, when you look up the definition, it's defined as the skill or competence expected of a professional. So I had the skill or competence, but apparently there's another layer that I'm expected, and it's a lot more difficult for people of color or people in these underrepresented communities to be successful.
Mm, it's true. It's so damn true. And how can you be successful when you don't feel that fit in, right? When you feel awkward, when you don't feel confident, when you feel like you have to question your very existence and being there. And then you have this nuance of like, I'm trying to be your friend. I don't know how to be your friend. I don't know how to move in the political realm of like befriending people because, you know, relationships matter at the end of the day. And how you move and operate with people is contingent on like your success to some degree. That's why they call it politics in the office, you know, like who's rallying for you, who's campaigning for you.
Oh my god. It literally
So,
feels like you're running for president every year.
yeah, yeah. And think about what that does to your mindset. Like,
Yeah.
okay, do I have enough people to jump behind me? And if I don't have people that look like me or understand me, watch the things that I watch, care about the things that I care about, taking the time to understand my cultural differences, which, to be honest, like, it should be not a cultural difference. It's just the fact that we're all a melting pot of America and everyone is different. It Why does the minority have to be the cultural difference? I That's a whole nother topic, but just saying, like, it makes somebody think like, how do I operate? How do I move here? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, it's
okay.
it's very confusing.
It is. It is. And so, what would you say in terms of like the importance of bringing yourself to work? Like, how did you get over that hump to be able to say, I'm done trying to fit in this box? Like, what was that turning point for you where you're like, I'm done?
Well, I've been doing it my whole career, faking it, assimilating, code switching to a certain extent. For me, it just hit like a peak when I was working at Facebook because it was my dream job. So I took it to a whole other level. You feel me?
Mm,
The problem is that, like many of us, at some point in our lives, we just hit a breaking point. And for me, I had a breaking point because I took it to a whole nother level, but I was getting this feedback of like, damn, like I'm being the best version of a white dude that I can, but they still don't see me like that. So I would give PowerPoints and somebody said, "Yo, that slide looks ghetto. Can you fix it?" Or um, one day I got labeled aggressive, and I was like, "Me? Yo, you know what I mean?" So I was like, "You know what? I'm at this job. I feel like I don't belong. This is the dream job for me. I thought this was gonna be the one where I could like finally not have to do this, right?" So I was like, "You know what? I might quit. I might just leave." And I was like, "If I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna go out on my own terms, though." So one day I had a meeting with my team and I was like, I've been lying to y'all about everything for the past year, except
mm,
for my name. I was like, my interests, my hobbies, those restaurants I said I like going to, everything has been a lie. I hate Riverdale. This is really me. And from now on, I'm gonna show you who I am, really. And they kind of gave me this look like, yo, should we be showing up to work on Monday? Like, I don't know who's gonna show up. I don't know what version of Pabel's gonna show up. You know what I mean? uh But from that moment on, I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna be myself, and I never received a performance review that was not exceeding expectations after that.
really?
Um, and it's a simple math equation though. Like you got to think about, you got 100% of your time. If you're dedicating 50% of it to be an actor, you're never gonna do your best work.
Mm, mm,
So, and it's funny, we could talk about the podcast too, but in the podcast, every single person, 100 plus interviews that I've had on the podcast, everyone has said the same thing too. They haven't done their best work until they stop faking it too. They've done
mm,
career defining shit after that.
mm.
So it's holding everybody back.
It absolutely is. And I'm so proud of you to be able to do that. Like, I don't mean you don't have like a really, really close relationship, but just hearing you being able to say that, because I've myself gone on a journey in that way and said, I don't care what you think about me. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be me. I'm not going to try to fit in a box, not even just from a assimilating to be someone I'm not in terms of like my appearance, because that took a whole nother issue. But it's also like, if you have insecurities about yourself, regardless of who you are,
Yeah.
now let's not even talk about race. Let's talk about just you being on your own healing journey. If you have things you're not working on within yourself and you're projecting those things onto me, I don't have to accept that. I don't have to
Yeah.
accept your experiences and what you think of me. I'm going to accept me for me, and you can just take what I am or not. And that's just going to be what it is. And um being in spaces that create psychological safety to do that. I mean, for the fact that you were able to do this and come back to them and say, "Hey, look, this is not me." Because you were already in an environment that didn't give you that psychological safety to even do that. So, like, think about the courage that you had to have in that moment to be able to say, "This isn't me." Like, damn, that is some real stuff. Like, wow.
It's actually something that I encourage everybody to do. Uh, Even if they don't, it's weird, right? But like, even if they don't feel safe, even if they haven't necessarily seen the safest of signals, I encourage everybody to do it because you want to see what people's reaction is going to be of you. And people are like, oh, but like, I don't want the microaggressions, the racism, sexism. And I was like, no, 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 you kind of do. because you want to know how unsafe it really is for you. Because
Yes.
only at that point you can truly make a decision for yourself if you want to be there long term, right?
That's
And
facts.
overall, in my time at Facebook, it was some of the best moments of my career. Despite all the things that I told you, this is a wild shit. Despite the stuff that I've already told you, it's the best place I've ever worked. And that's the thing about corporations. Like, it was just I've been on mad teams while I was there. Some teams I felt way safer than others, and it also had to do with like how comfortable I was in myself, right? But you get to make a decision for yourself at that point of like, all right, I'm being myself. How are they receiving me? If I'm not feeling it, I can move to another team. I can move to another
Mm-hmm.
company. I can move to another office. I could do other these things, right? But at least you could start planning around those things. All right, you know what? Maybe this whole company is for me, but at least I'm gonna start saving money, stack up so that I can feel comfortable in my decision, whatever it may be. But if you never show who you are, you'll never start making that plan for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It comes with like that self reckoning of like, I got to accept me first before I can go out and do these things to know the environments I'm going to feel safest in.
Yeah, and I promise you, they're
For
out
sure.
there.
Yeah, absolutely they are. And to be honest, like even when it comes to like change, like you said, changing teams, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to do an audit of some of these spaces too. Like if you don't understand what you need, how can you go and look for things that will be able to be prescriptive to what you know you need to be giving yourself? Because if you don't
Oof.
know, you can't go and audit a team even to be like, do these people have the things that I need that I can feel comfortable in these spaces? Are the values being walked? Are, am I able to align anywhere here and feeling good about being what who I am and what I'm trying to do?
I'm so glad you mentioned that because that's one of the things that I'm actually trying to teach people is emotional intelligence and something as simple as like you just ask a simple question. Well, like, what do you need? You know, people can't answer that.
Mm,
And when even something as simple as like, well, how did your last team make you feel? Like, we have such a limited emotional vocabulary that we can't get past happy, sad, mad, where we can't even describe how our last team made us feel. So in reality, like a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching people is not authenticity in the workplace. It's not how to be your most authentic self. I'm really teaching people emotional intelligence. I'm just
mhm,
using the lens of professionalism as a way to get people to open up about their feelings. Cause
mm,
I think if I had a podcast about mental health or if I had a podcast about emotional intelligence, I think most people wouldn't listen to it because those things scare people. But I'm still talking about those things. I'm just
yeah,
using the lens of professionalism because everyone hates it as a way to, as a trick to get people to open up about their emotions. You know what I mean? Because on every
I
episode,
love
people tell me how they feel, and they even be like, "Yo, I've never said this out loud," but or people be like, "Damn, yo, this feels like therapy," right? I'm just tricking people to talk about their emotions, but I'm getting people to talk about
and I
it.
love that. I love that. You're kind of making it like a sexy thing, but like it's like that top of mind thing. You're like, hey, professionals, are wait, what? I'm actually gonna therapy. Like, I feel
Yeah,
good after this conversation. Like, wow, I've never felt like I could unleash this kind of feeling. Like, so many people are so scared to say how they
yeah.
feel. It's crazy. It's
Or
crazy. Like,
even reflect. Yeah. Like
yeah.
I ask a question like, um, uh, yeah, like what expectations do you think your family had for you growing up? He's like, damn, I never thought about that. Right. And I'm forcing you to reflect in that moment, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. It's just the power of self-awareness and emotional
Yeah.
intelligence, you know? It changes your entire trajectory of the way you see the world. Like I feel like when I went on my healing journey about 3 years ago, and it's crazy to say 3 years ago, I'm 34, be about to be 35. So I have to unlearn
Hmm.
30 plus years of generational trauma that was passed down to me. I've got to unlearn all of these different things that now I have given to my kids, even not knowing, because I was passing down something I didn't realize I was passing down. So now I got to go help them unlearn those behaviors and then really
Sure.
be able to be like, okay, how do I stop this? And how do I go and help people be able to operate in corporate spaces better? Because that's essentially what Tech Me As I Am is tech is in my mind a disruptor, right? And so I want to disrupt the way that we come and show up as our authentic selves when we are in the workplaces. You know what I mean? So, which is one of the reasons why I named it Tech Me As I Am. And so, I don't know. I love the way that you're doing it with professionalism, and I love the way that you're helping people. I think that's what gravitated me to you when we were doing the Hello First Gen the podcast or the audio series on LinkedIn. It was pretty cool. So thank you so much for even like being here with me today and sharing everything.
For sure. Yeah, I see tech as a disruptor too. And I love that tech is included in it because most of my career has been in tech, and I think I don't know if I would have been where I am without some of those um work moments. I do think tech is a game changer for a lot of our communities. Like it's such a big wealth driver opportunity, but also like just look at everything you use on a daily basis. Like if we can have a positive impact on the products that our communities actually consume, like that's powerful as well, right? So when you talk about emotional intelligence, I'm actually creating an app right now where I'm hoping to teach our communities about emotional intelligence because, for example, Harvard Business Review did a study that said 90% of what sets high performers apart from their peers is emotional intelligence. 90% of it. Yet when I think about my own professional journey, I didn't learn it at school. I didn't learn it in at work. I had to go to therapy to learn it, or I had to go through life experiences to learn it. Right. So there's this skill that everyone needs, yet no one is teaching it, and there are barriers to teach it. So I think I found a creative way to get people to open up. Now I'm just trying to scale that impact through technology.
Oh, I love that. I love that mission, Pavel. I really do. And I feel very much in alignment. And I think we need more people like us to be able to go out there and help our communities because being a minority, at least coming from the Black community, that's a shunned upon thing. Therapy? Psh,
Yeah, yeah.
not going to therapy. You know, you go therapy is the Bible. It's going to
Mhm.
church, and that's a whole nother situation itself. And then having access to the resources for therapy. Therapy changed my life. Tech helped me change my life because they gave resources to allow me to get help, to afford the help, and not some shitty ass help that's from welfare and food stamps, and then it's like, oh yeah, you're just in the system, because I've been on that too. And it's so sad to see these things, and it's like all I want to do is just give back, because if you don't know and you're not exposed to it, you don't even know it exists. You just don't.
Tech is the only reason I went to therapy because it was a benefit. Like when I was at
Right.
Facebook, they paid for like a bunch of like sessions,
Yep.
and I was exposed to it previously, but I was like, why would I go to that?
Right.
But when it was so accessible and so easy to do, I was like, yeah, whatever, let's try it, right? So yeah,
Mm. How powerful is that? Well, I just want to say what you're doing with professionalism and demystifying the status quo, the ideals about it, as a way to help lift people up and see that they can be themselves, and then also see that representation and saying, "Hey, like, I can wear hoop earrings, I can wear my hair curly, I can, dress the way that I want to dress in a way that makes me feel comfortable." Still professional. I want to say still professional, but like keep it tasteful. Like, don't come in a bikini at work. You know what I mean? But like, you know, but still, like having some type of etiquette to it. But being able to still be you in doing so. So thank you for everything that you're doing and breaking these silos down and breaking these walls down and creating more emotional intelligence in the spaces that you're operating out of.
thank you. Appreciate the love and support.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the last thing I want to do is do some rapid fire questions, so people can get
Okay.
to know you a little bit better. So
Okay.
I'm going to try to come up with a couple of them here and throw them at you. So, question number one: if you have a favorite rapper, who would you choose? Would who would you choose as a favorite rapper? Go,
Jay Z.
Jay Z. Okay, and why Jay Z?
He's just had a long life where he could talk about a lot of different things. you know, I like listening to him at like different points of his life as well. Like I often listen to his first album, Reasonable Doubt, just to hear the hustle, the like grit, the just like, yo, is this really happening for me right now? Like, yo, this is life. To now he could talk about like I'm balling. Like to see that progression in somebody's life is dope and inspiring. I
It
actually
really
really
is.
like I really like low key Rick Ross for different reasons. Not that he's a favorite, but just like randomly popped in my head. He got a way of like flossing and like bragging in a eloquent way that I'm just like, damn. Like he said some shit like he said something the other day when I was listening to him. He was like, "Yeah, I just wrote a," and he says it way better than me. But essentially, he was like, "Yeah, I wrote a book. Um, to me, it's a memoir, but to you, it's sci-fi. Like my life is so crazy that it looks like sci-fi to you." I was like, "Oh,
Mm, mm. Dropping
yeah,
bars, dropping bars.
yeah."
Okay, okay. If you could travel out of the country to a place you want to go, where would that be? Where would be a first thing on your list?
I would go back to Barcelona. That's where I studied abroad when I was in college, and I was so broke that I just feel like with a little bit more money these days, it would be a different experience.
Okay, okay, okay. I love that. Love that. Love that. What is the one of the books that you're reading right now? If you are reading or a podcast you're listening to?
I don't read often, but I did start reading this book, Olga Dies Dreaming. But I don't read often. It's gonna take me like a whole year to read this book, and it's not that many pages.
Hey, I'm the same way. I got books on my nightstand and I'm like, I want to read them. If I had them as audiobooks, that's why I try to do my audiobooks so I'm on the go so much. You know what I mean? So at least try
Yeah,
to get like a paragraph in at least a night. I try. I
yeah,
try.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, last question. If you do watch TV, what shows are you into right now? Like what's your top show right now?
Oh, I'm not watching any shows right now. I'm a bit. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I'm not watching any shows right now. I am waiting for that weekend show to drop. From
The
the
weekend.
weekend, he's
Oh
doing
yeah, yeah,
acting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I think it's called The Idol. I'm waiting for that show to drop, but I'm not watching any TV right now.
Okay. Me either. I'm trying to again with my book situation. It's like I start an episode and then I never finish the seasons. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, this is so good. And then I get so wrapped up and stuff. So okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having the time to come and visit us today. Really, really happy to have you and continue doing some great things because you're doing some amazing things, Pabel.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yes, always. And you can all look for us for next week's episode where we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome and understanding the complexities about that. So, really looking forward to talking to you all about that later on. So, thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.